All right, let's get right into it. Today we're talking about something huge, a real game changer in the world of AI. Ads are officially coming to ChatGPT.
You know, it's funny, not too long ago, this was the line from the very top. Sam Altman himself said mixing ads and AI was uniquely unsettling. The idea was, hey, we're building a tool you can trust for answers. And ads, well, that complicates things. It was supposed to be a last resort.
So that was then. And, well, this is now. What on earth happened? Why the big flip-flop? And more importantly, why should you care? Let's break it all down.
And just like that, the era of an ad-free ChatGPT started to come to an end. We're talking early 2024, when OpenAI flipped the switch and started testing ads. Now, this wasn't just some minor feature update. No, this was a fundamental shift, a huge pivot in their entire strategy.
But here's the thing. When you look at the numbers, you start to realize this wasn't really a choice. It was almost inevitable. The sheer scale of what they're doing is just mind-boggling, and the math was getting pretty scary.
Okay, get ready for this. $14 billion. That's how much money OpenAI is projected to lose in 2026 alone. The cost of running these massive AI models is just astronomical. They're literally burning through cash.
And it gets crazier. Ever heard of Project Stargate? It's one of their future data centers, and it's estimated to cost a cool $500 billion. I mean, just one project. In the bigger picture, they're looking at over $1 trillion in spending to build out all the infrastructure they need. The scale is just insane. And on top of all that, they've got to support this 800 million weekly active users. Think about that. Every time you or I or anyone else asks a question, it costs them real money. Every single query spins up servers and uses a ton of computing power.
So, you've got this massive user base, right? 800 million people. You'd think they'd be rolling in cash. But here's the catch, the real kicker. Only about 5% of those users are actually paying for a subscription. That means 95% of the people using the service aren't paying a dime. You can see how that financial gap just becomes completely unsustainable fast.
Okay, so ads were inevitable, but what do they actually look like in practice? And who's footing the bill for these things? Let's take a look.
So OpenAI is trying to do this carefully. They've laid out some ground rules for their pilot program. First, ads are only on the free and go tiers. They'll show up below the answers, and they'll be clearly labeled as sponsored. And here's the big promise. They swear your private chats won't be sold to advertisers. They're also keeping ads away from sensitive stuff like health or politics, which is probably a good idea.
Now this is where it gets really interesting. Look at this comparison. OpenAI is charging advertisers a premium rate. We're talking $60 for every 1,000 views. That's roughly triple what Meta charges. And get this, they're offering way less data and fewer analytics. It's a huge bet. They're basically saying the context of a live conversation is so valuable, so perfect for an ad, that you'll pay us more for it, even with less data to prove it worked.
And that bet, that whole model, opens up a really big can of worms. It brings us to this critical debate about trust and what this all means for us, the users.
I mean, here's the fundamental question, right? Can an AI assistant really serve you and an advertiser at the same time? If the AI's whole job is to generate the best answer, what's to stop it from favoring the brand that's paying the bills? OpenAI swears this won't happen, but that's the billion-dollar question that's going to hang over this entire era.
You know, a lot of critics are looking at this and saying, we've seen this movie before. There's this pattern in tech. Some people call it the enshittification playbook. It goes like this. You launch a great product people love, you get a ton of users, it becomes part of their daily routine. And then you start cramming in ads, making the experience worse to squeeze out more profit. The big worry is, will ChatGPT go down that same road? Will they trade our trust for more ad revenue?
And the way these ads work is pretty clever and maybe a little creepy. It's a new idea called contextual surveillance. So the AI is reading your conversation, it understands your problems, your needs, maybe even your vulnerabilities. It doesn't sell your personal data to the advertiser, no. But what it does do is use that deep understanding to find the perfect moment to slip in an ad. It's not selling you, it's selling the moment. And that raises a whole new set of questions about what privacy even means anymore.
Okay, so we've talked about the user side. But for businesses and marketers, this changes everything. It's not just another place to buy ads. It's a whole new game with a whole new set of rules.
For years, it's all been about SEO, search engine optimization. How do you get to the top of Google's blue links? Well, get ready for GEO, Generative Engine Optimization. The goal isn't just to get a click anymore. The new goal is to have your brand, your product, your information become part of the AI's actual answer.
So what does that actually mean? It means being mentioned a lot, all over the web, in an authoritative way, is suddenly way more important than your Google ranking. The AI is learning from everything: Reddit threads, product reviews, forum posts. So a random person on a forum talking about how great your brand is, even without a link, that suddenly has real value. It's a massive shift in what matters online.
So let's zoom out for a second. At the end of the day, ads on ChatGPT aren't just about ads. They're a sign of a much, much bigger shift happening right under our feet.
The age of one single search engine dominating everything, that's ending. The internet is fragmenting. We're moving into a world where you'll use different tools for different jobs. Maybe you'll use Google for a quick fact check, Perplexity when you need to see the sources, and now ChatGPT when you want a recommendation. And for businesses, that means if you're not visible everywhere, you're not visible anywhere.
Which leaves us with one final and pretty heavy question. Our tools, the things we rely on for information, now have their own agenda. They have something to sell. So who do you trust? How do you tell the difference between genuine advice and a sales pitch when they're coming from the same voice? Figuring that out, well, that might be one of the most important skills we all need to learn.